Okay, well, thanks for joining me. We are going to discuss practical tips for foreigners in Uganda, and today's topic is transportation. All right, so there are actually several ways to get moved around town and the villages here in Uganda. One way is a taxi. A taxi is a white van and it typically is painted with like these blue dashes around it. Sometimes I've seen them in gray, but typically they're in white. And they even have stickers on the front of their windshield that show like their permit number and everything. So taxis are a very convenient way to get around, and they're the cheapest way to get around, and they're relatively safe but very, very slow. So this van, you get in, and then the next person, they're always looking for somebody else to load. They want the van to be full, and they can fit 14 people, I think. I think about 14 people. That's not really legal, but they'll stuff them full. And so the more people they have, the more money they make. So they're constantly stopping to add more people. So it's not fast, very slow, and squishy, a little squishy. But everybody, it's fine. It's friendly. There's no problem. The only thing to watch about that, if you're going to take a taxi, the first thing you need to pay attention to is who is in the taxi. If you go to get in a taxi and there's really nobody in there, you just see a couple of men in the back and the driver, don't take that taxi, because that's how people get robbed. You need to be, as I'm always saying, be aware of your surroundings. So if you're going to take a taxi, pay attention. And again, I'm going to reiterate, you really shouldn't be moving around Kampala alone if you're a Westerner. It's just not safe. So I've been in plenty of taxis here. I haven't ever had a problem with a taxi, but I don't move by myself. I've always moved with a Ugandan who can guide me in where I'm going, what I'm doing. But it really is the cheapest way to move around town, and you'll see there's lots of taxis. So if you're driving here and there's a taxi in front of you, don't follow too closely, because they will stop without even indicating. They'll all of a sudden they're stopped and they're picking up a passenger, and they didn't even let you know. And if you crash, then you're paying cash right there on the spot. And Ugandans are passionate, so the taxi driver will come out and the conductor will come out and they'll be yelling at you, and it's not pretty. So don't follow too close with taxis, because you can never tell what they're going to do. They're really unpredictable. And be very careful if you're going to take a taxi. Then I highly recommend you're not moving around by yourself, but you have a trusted Ugandan with you, and pay attention. If the taxi's empty, then don't get in. If the taxi only has a few men, don't get in. And even women can be involved in that scam. Don't get in. Be careful, be aware. So the next form of transportation that's really one of the most popular is going on a boda boda. Boda boda is a motorcycle, and they're everywhere. And the boda bodas, they come from every direction. In the Western world, we have some order to the way we drive, but in Uganda, it's a bit chaotic. And the only other place I've seen such chaos is Puerto Rico. And the chaos here is worse, because you don't know these motorcycles if they're going to be on your right or your left. At least when you're in the Western world, you know that everybody has these standard set of rules that they follow. But here, the bodas don't follow any rules. They do whatever they want. And I admit that I ride on a boda quite frequently, because I won't get stuck in traffic, and I like that. Not necessarily the safest thing, but very quick. So if you get a boda, you can get a boda, and they even have an app here called Safe Boda that you can download, and you can order a boda to your location. You just want to be careful, again, be aware of your surroundings, because sometimes boda drivers then they do this to Ugandans. They'll pick you up and then they'll take you to a completely different place to rob you. It happens. So you need to really be aware. I was pretty free getting bodas in town. At one point, I felt pretty comfortable, but then when my Ugandan friend told me what happened to him, I started getting a little more selective. Like you order from the app, and then all their buddies, they tell their buddies where they're taking you, and then they steal from you when you get there. So now I have somebody who drives me, a personal driver, and I very rarely will use a boda downtown, but you can, and it's fine. So what happens is as a Mzungu, as a white person, you get on that boda and you're hanging on for dear life, like you hang on to the seat or to the, underneath the seat, and you're like, oh. But I've kind of gotten used to it, and I don't do that anymore. Like, I'm pretty comfortable now. You just relax and it's fine. I've never seen anybody fall off, so it's fine. And you just want a driver that cares about your life. so that you don't die. But it's a very great way. I would recommend a boda if you're in the village, because there's not a lot of cars moving around in the village, and so it's pretty safe and it's a pretty fast way to navigate the village roads, because the village roads are dirt, and when it rains they're really muddy and they've got holes everywhere, and so you're actually going to move around faster on a boda in the village than you will in a private car. So boda, that's boda transportation, taxi boda. The next form of transportation, which I have not taken but is used to commute here, is a train. So there's a train that commutes you from the outskirts of town to the inskirts of town, and the people who are working use it. I've heard good things about it, but I've never had a reason to take it. But it does run, and it's efficient, is all I can tell you. They just revamped it, so it's nice. But that's pretty much all I know about the train. But it does run. And then the next form of transportation is going to be a private car or a private truck, or also booking a tour company that drives you around in a van. So here's the thing. If you have a private vehicle, it needs to be, and you're going to go in the village, it needs to be a pickup truck or a 4x4 or an SUV, because the roads are really bad. And so if you're going to go into the village and you're going to be like in a Honda Civic, there's no way. You're going to wreck your car because it's too low to the ground. So you want to keep that in mind if you're going to book transportation when you come here and you're going to drive yourself. You want to have something that's more rugged, that can handle those back roads, because they can be pretty bad. I mean, some of the roads I go on are not roads. I'm telling you, they're not. And yet somehow they are. So you want to keep that in mind when you're booking. If you're booking through a tourist agency, typically they're going to book you one of those safari cars that you would see like in a movie or something. And they're not the most comfortable, by the way, or fuel efficient. Or they're going to book you in like a really nice van that has lots of seats and air conditioning and water and stuff, but also not fuel efficient, and you're going to have to pay for that fuel. So you need to consider some things when you're booking rental cars or through a tourist company, because you want to consider the cost of fuel, and you want to consider your comfort and where you're going. Because a car is okay if you're just going to tool around Entebbe or Kampala, that's fine. There's lots of good roads there. But if you're going into the village, then those kind of cars aren't going to work. You really need to get something that's more rugged. So as far as transportation goes, when you're walking downtown or even in the village, if a boda comes by and they're available, they'll look at you and they'll be like, and it's okay for you to go, right? And so you'll have that happen a lot if you're walking downtown. Every boda that passes you will look at you and be like, and it's your job to go, right? And then on the road, if you're going to drive your own car on the road, then you have to know that there's a whole language here that's used with the indicators. So like a taxi will be coming the opposite direction and they'll flash you their brights in the day. And the reason is because they want to know, are there any police? Right? So they're asking you questions. And so if you're going to drive a car, you might want to do a little research and find out what that language is. For me, I'm not really sure because I haven't done the research. I just see it all the time. I know it's a whole language. Because I like being a passenger, so I don't really drive so much here. But for sure, you want to pay attention, again, to your surroundings and what's going on. I think the other thing is there's nothing wrong with driving here. I drive here. I don't have a problem. But I hired a driver to drive me, and it doesn't cost me very much money. I mean, it costs me like $5 a day to have somebody drive the car. So it's totally worth it to me to have somebody drive. Somebody who's Ugandan, who has a driver's permit, who knows the rules, who knows the language. It just makes sense to me. It's such a small expense that, it just makes sense that it's something that I would do. So you should think about that. So whatever transportation you're going to use when you're here, you should try and arrange things before you come so that you don't get cheated or lied to. And if you're going to go through a tourist company or a booking company, double check on the Uganda government websites to find out what's legit. So that just because you see a tour company set up on Facebook doesn't mean they're legitimate. They could just take your money and then not even give you the service. So make sure you're researching before you make a decision. And again, just be aware of your surroundings, right? Be aware of your packages, what you're holding and how you're moving. I always move with a backpack. I throw everything in the backpack. Nobody can steal from me because I got it. It's safe, right? All right. So I think that that's a good overview in general. Just don't be fooled by strangers. Somebody coming up to you and going, oh, yeah, I know I met you like a week ago. Yeah, come this way. Come to my home. Make sure you're checking with whoever you're with before you do things like that. Make sure it's somebody you really know, because it's a little overwhelming when you come to a place like this and you meet people and everybody's so friendly. It's like a blur. So it's important that you have somebody that's kind of guiding you and helping you. So, with that being said, be aware, be safe, and enjoy your time in Uganda.